It was recently Halo 5's anniversary just only a few days ago, and I saw that it actually got a lot of positive attention. Well, relatively speaking. It's no huge secret that Halo 5 wasn't a stranger to criticism, but it got me thinking. Whenever Halo players talk about their favorite Halo game, well, what do they tell you? Do they mention the rock and roll roller coaster of Halo 2? Maybe they mention finishing the fight in Halo 3, one of the most iconic entries in the franchise. Or perhaps younger Spartans plays Halo Reach at the top. Nevertheless, all these entries have tons of content, memories, and stories. But I'm here to plead my case for arguably the best multiplayer in Halo, Halo 5. Wait, please don't click off the video. I swear I'm serious. Now, before you call me a psychopath, at least hear me out first. Every entry that I mentioned before probably was 10 times more fun than Halo 5. Even I could admit that. However, I think Halo 5 had many elements that objectively did better than most of the other installments. Now, I believe if we take the name Halo off, the game's fundamentals would, in my opinion, still carry it even if it were just a random first-person shooter. The elements truly are great, but because of the nonsense littered around the game's lifecycle meant that it just didn't do as well as it could have. Now, before you get bored, let me explain why Halo 5 may have had the best multiplayer, but may not have necessarily been the best Halo. Let's jump in feet first. I want to illustrate reasons why Halo 5 probably was never anyone's first choice, or their second or third. Halo 5 suffered from 343's less than stellar job when it came to two major things, the campaign and the art style. Look, it's no secret Halo 5's campaign is arguably the worst in the series, as the confusing and counterintuitive narrative just doesn't serve the player base. Hopping around from Blue Team to Fireteam Osiris was strange, to say the least, and not to mention it made the Master Chief a side character in the Halo franchise. This easily makes it a prime candidate for the worst campaign. Couple that with the fact that the art style almost made the game look like a bad cash grab from a show from sci-fi.
Shutting down Neural Bridge.
Now, I don't blame you for liking Halo Battlestar Galactica, but I don't think people take you 100% serious if you say it's your favorite.
You serious?
Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on these two shortcomings. Better people have illustrated these points way better than I ever could. And the reason why I listed them is because I believe these 2 points did so much harm it overshadowed the good. Remember, what I want to try to do here is highlight the underrated points and things that Halo 5 did well, possibly better than its predecessors. Now, the first point we're going to talk about is weapon balance. Now, I'm no scrub when it comes to multiplayer, and I think I've seen my fair share of combat between the numerous iterations. Ever since Halo 2, Bungie has had a tried and true formula of the battle rifle or DMR doing the heavy lifting in most engagements. Halo has always been about the rifles, as the other tertiary and power weapons serve to add to the main dish, but Halo 5 mixed it up a little bit. The leads at 343 early on wanted to emphasize weapon balance and competition. Just look at this multiplayer trailer a while back.
Ready! Let's move!
As you can see, I think around this time, 343 were emphasizing competition over anything else. A decision that recently has come under scrutiny, as many players rightfully want to have a game that's more fun than competitive or balanced. This is why I said Halo 5's multiplayer was the best, but not necessarily the most fun or rewarding. 343 from the ground up made sure to make every weapon and engagement winnable as long as a player's skill level was adequate. Here are some examples. The assault rifle did reliable and decent damage, coupled with the addition of headshot multipliers and Bloom, made it possibly the best iteration of the weapon to date. This allowed the weapon to extend well into medium and maybe even long range when paired with SmartLink. The Halo 5 pistol was also a very powerful weapon, boasting a very consistent damage profile and range, rivaling even the battle rifle in situations. There were many instances where my friends and I would joke about not even wanting the DMR or even the battle rifle, as the pistol was an effective jack-of-all-trades weapon that rewarded accordingly. Now, I think Halo 5 really had effective weapons for all ranges for the most part. Even though the Halo 2 BR kinda muddied the waters, the guns had clear advantages over the other in their respective ranges. In previous installments, the pistol and AR arguably have never been this powerful, well, excluding Combat Evolved. These weapons up until this point were basically placeholders until a battle rifle or DMR was found on the map. I mean, let's be real here, nobody cared about the Halo pistol until Reach rolled around. I mean, really take a second to ask yourself if you have more than 50 kills with the Halo 3 pistol. If you do, you either have a lot of time on the game or you're probably a glutton for punishment. Better or for worse though, this allowed Halo 5 sandbox to arguably become the most diverse and balanced. Very rarely would you be unable to compete if you didn't have a precision rifle. Now, many players didn't agree with this philosophy, I think, at the time, but in my opinion, it allowed for arguably the best environment for competition, allowing the best of the best to truly see who's better. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think this really makes it the best Halo. I think the best Halo is the one you have the most fun in, but I do think this was the most balanced entry that we've had yet. On to my second point, let's talk about the movement. Now, Halo 5 emphasized a fluid and effective movement system that allowed players to adapt into a more lethal soldier if they use it to its full potential. It really allowed players to outmaneuver well-placed grenades and other hazards, meaning that the skill gap could be widened further. And don't get me wrong, I don't think this is Halo's ideal movement system. Looking at Halo Infinite, Sprint nearly isn't as overpowered as Halo 5, and I prefer it this way. However, I would like to see the Halo 5 thruster added, even if it's in like a random and friends game mode. The movements in Halo 5 gave it a very fluid motion that was really only interrupted by Spartan Charge and Ground Pound. The clamber, thruster, and overall speed of the player still, in my opinion, allowed players a greater degree of freedom when traversing the map. If they had probably removed some of the fat with the less popular Spartan abilities, we could have seen an evolution of the Halo formula for the future. The Ground Pound and Spartan Charge to me were so unnecessary to add, but nevertheless, Halo 5's movement system was probably the best, rewarding those willing to put in the time to master it. If you've made it this far and you agree with me, let me know. Leave a like, I'd appreciate it. But enough of that, let's talk about the next important thing, maps. There's nothing too much here to talk about, and honestly, I think it adds to the discussion. I don't think it's really a bad thing, as Halo 5's maps were very much forgettable, but I do think from a balance standpoint, it really made the flanks and map control comparable to more beloved multiplayers. I think if my memory serves me correctly, Halo 5's most popular maps were basically flipped versions of classic maps that gave many players a sense of familiarity, but also longing for some more variety. And now with that being said, I think with the addition of advanced movements, it allowed possibly the greatest vertical Halo we've seen yet. Sadly, maps still remain a weak point for 3 even to this day, as we didn't get, in my opinion, any memorable maps that played super well. What I do think though was a great addition to the map selection were the breakout maps. The mode, and more importantly, its maps really made strategy and engagement even more important than the normal ones. And I think the community, despite the low numbers, enjoyed it very much, as it's probably the closest thing to Call of Duty's Search and Destroy mode. Clutch moments and team strategy meant that games came down to the best of the best, and the maps did a great job of contributing to the competitive atmosphere. Halo has always been a party game, and I think rightfully it should stay this way. Breakout, however, was great in allowing a more esports-like approach that tried to serve both communities, and I hope that it will make a return in the future. Looking back on it, I think Halo 5 did a great job in serving both communities and catering to them. I just hope 343 can kind of look back on this and try and bring that same separation into Halo Infinite while making sure that they serve both communities equally, if that's possible. I don't know. And now, honestly, the most controversial part of this entire video is probably Warzone. Now, I won't get into the ethics of this mode. It very much was added just really for the loot boxes and monetization of the game, but I do think later down the line, it created a rift in the community that kind of worked to its advantage. The mode essentially has gone against everything we've talked about so far, as Warzone has nothing balanced about it. The maps are extremely open and therefore encourage a lot of vehicle and long-range gameplay. This, coupled with pub stompers, meant that this wasn't a traditional Halo experience. The casual nature of Warzone meant that those with plenty of friends or deep wallets could make a boring game pretty fun. However, despite the balance issues, with the addition of Warzone Firefight, an unexpected move at the time in my opinion, meant that players had plenty of options for fun when they hopped on the game. I mean, really to me, Warzone was kind of like a goofier big team battle, if you will. I think this mode was met with rightful criticism, and I won't take any of that away, but I feel like it was a necessary evil when it came to giving the player a choice. Something that allowed 343 to appease stockholders, but also giving the less skilled players options. Looking at today's games, player choice seems like less of a priority, so I appreciate the mode for what it is. I mean, looking back on it, Warzone was a double-edged sword. I don't know how businesses or corporations work, but I don't know if 343 has to add these sort of player unfriendly systems in order to appease stockholders. But in this era of modern gaming, there is always a bigger problem around the corner. And Warzone, in hindsight, was a passable option to keep everyone happy. And last but not least, the party and social atmosphere of Halo 5. I really think the custom games and infection game modes were some of the best in the franchise, but let's be real, it's only because the most modern version of Forge that was released with it. The Forge editor we got was nothing to scoff at. Too bad we really didn't get it on day one, but I digress. The custom games and infection modes had access to primitive scripting, and whether it was escaping a deranged clown or playing ping pong, Halo 5's custom games weren't awful. If we're being real, some of the most fun and creative game modes I've ever played in a Halo custom game was in Halo 5. It's just, sadly, none of my friends actually cared enough to play it since it was Halo 5. And like I said before, I really want to drive home a crucial point when I explain this, that games are really fun with your friends, and that's what makes them good. It's just when you have a game like Halo 5 that has so much controversy and so much nonsense, it just overshadows all the good things that the game did. Being honest, Halo 5 just needed crucial features to be released day one in order for it to be successful. The foundation is there, but Halo 3 and Halo Reach just take the cake because we hold so much nostalgia, we've had so many friends and experiences that just trump Halo 5. But anyways, those are just my opinions on why I think Halo 5 was the best multiplayer. I don't really think most of you will agree though, since it received so much controversy during its life cycle. I mean, it is a 343 Halo after all too. But nonetheless, I think it at least warrants some type of discussion. Like and subscribe, and leave a comment about what you think. Do you agree or disagree? Do you think I'm crazy? Let me know down in the comments below. That's enough of me, and Technique out.